sort of, business savant or anything like that. I had family members, aunts and uncles. I come from a very big family, so there was a whole bunch of opportunities for me to observe other people. And what they did was they started a business because America was based on the freedom of having a business. And one of the best things that you can do, apart from having a family and having a mortgage, is also having a business. You get so many tax write-offs for having a mortgage, a family, and a business. If you don't have the business part, you are missing out on so many tax benefits and things like that. Just if you hang the shingle of I have a business, there are so many things that you can benefit from for your family, for your mortgage, for all of those things. And you don't even have to do a very good job at the business. You could do horribly and then say, I didn't make any money, and still have a huge amount of benefits, right? So be focused on a business, but also be a gigomaniac that figures out how things are connected. And Bill, you also understand this when you talk about having a funnel when it comes to affiliate marketing and doing webinars and stuff. There are different pieces that are recommended, but then you have this thing called the profit maximizer, right? When you're trying to leverage your list and your funnel and things like this. And folks, if you are confused about any of this, if this is whooshing over your head, please say something in the comments and we'll make sure and address it in later episodes and stuff, because I'm doing a 50,000 foot view of a lot of stuff just so I can grab this one point. I swear I'm almost done. But focus on things that are all connected, because that's when you're going to find the biggest profit maximizers. So then even when you fail, I'm not saying that you will, but even if you do fail, you're going to succeed. Because even if you have to write everything off as a loss, everything is going to come back and help you in the long run, just based on how our country works. And not just the United States, but there are many, many, many countries. If you're watching from, an island in the South Seas or something like that, there are still benefits. There are always benefits to having a business. So just to circle back, make sure and focus on things that connect together if you're going to have a hobby, and look for opportunities where you can save time and money through the already connected network of businesses that your country already provides, and leverage that to the hilt as much as you possibly can. But don't waste your time trying to have the most obscure any job and every job. If you want some kind of point of reference, I have a video where I even talked about how I made $500 in a single day. Wasn't even attempting it, wasn't even trying like, I'm going to make this money. Like a lot of people, like, I'm just going to will it to happen. No, it just happened. But it was because my gigomaniac focus was to take a handful of things that were similarly connected, and all had their own reasons for doing that. But when they were all connected together, it was this huge profit maximizing thing that by the end of the day, with very, very little effort, mind you, I'd made $500. I'm good. That's it.
That's great. And this is when we throw out the the big flashing red lights disclaimer. We're not tax accountants, so don't take our tax
advisor
advice. But I mean, yes, having a business. So when you turn a hobby that you might be getting paid for right now, like you do wedding photography for your friends and they pay you a little bit, technically you need to claim that income. Well, if it's a business, you can also claim your expenses. And in a lot of cases, it becomes a wash, or you lost money because, you know what? Hey, I bought a new camera this year. It's part of my business. I spent $5,000 on it, or whatever it happens to be. You bought a high-end, camera. But you only made $2,000 in revenue. Well, guess what? You get to write off a lot of that. So again, not tax advice and or any of that kind of thing, but
leverage the tools in front of you. Yeah.
But Zane made really good points. So yeah,
I think, it's really important. I think, Zane, you and I have talked about this, and it all ties in that I found over the course of my personal entrepreneurial journey that I built skills with each different gig that I took on, everything I tried to do and start. And even if it wasn't successful to the point that I wanted it to be successful, even if I didn't, if I wasn't able to step out of my job and doing that full time, I still learned valuable skills that I was able to pull forward to the next gig. So as I continued on the journey, the gigs were able to get more and more complicated, more and more specialized, and able to command higher and higher fees from those gigs as we go. You start out as a basic gig. You think back to maybe being a teenager wanting to earn some extra money. You learn how to mow a lawn. Well, you can't get paid a ton for mowing a lawn. You can get paid quite a bit for mowing a bunch of lawns.
Well, unless you find that really rich guy who's going to pay you $1,000.
Right. Exactly. You find that guy that makes $2,000 by paying you $1,000 to mow the lawn, and he's got a tiny yard. But you learn several skills over the course of organizing several bits of work, right? You learn to schedule that work, you learn to acquire clients, different things like that. So now we move on to, the next gig. Also in some parts of the country, it's very seasonal work. Here in Michigan, we're covered in snow for more here than we are, having green grass.
Right.
So then you say, okay, well, that's great. My business is seasonal. Now what do I do? Okay, well, now you're shoveling or snow plowing.
Right.
And it seems like a natural add-on service. So then you have to go back and re-prospect from the clients that you have that you did lawn and say, hey, we do shoveling over the winter. Do you want your sidewalks kept clear and your steps salted and your driveway clean? And so that's a skill, being able to go back to your existing client base, and one that's very lucrative once you start getting into higher end products where you can keep going back to your clients over and over and over again and keep them with you as you move from gig to gig. So very valuable. And it's not just those things, but just examples of how every bit that you have goes in. I wouldn't be able to operate an agency now for running Facebook ads if at one point I didn't understand learning how to write persuasively. I wouldn't be able to do that if I hadn't done sales prior. I'd be able to understand human behavior, being able to make those connections, let alone being able to prospect clients without understanding that process of being able to do the prospecting. So I sold insurance for a little while, which did not turn out very well for me. But it taught me a valuable skill that I'm still using today, moving forward in my business, that without it, I couldn't be half of where I've gotten to. So don't be afraid to attack a small gig if it's going to help you learn something or teach you something that you can take forward into another gig. I mean, that's part of the role of freedom. So instead of going to a traditional school to learn this skill, if you can learn this skill by doing it, get paid to learn the skill and then take it forward to a more lucrative gig.
Oh, yeah.
There's no reason not to.
Right. That's good. It makes me think of another book. I'm not a book person. I listen to audiobooks, but I heard years back, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. So I just took a life hack shortcut and went, okay, that just means I need the information in my brain. So I don't want to sit here and read a book. I'm just going to consume information. The information that I'm talking about is a book called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, and it's all about managing the 6 inches between your ears, right? The psychology and whatnot. But one of the biggest things, especially with fellow, what are we calling them?
Maniacs?
Gigomaniacs, yes, right.
It's like Hulkamaniacs.
Yeah. So
rip off our shirt.
yeah. But no, that's I wanted to jump on that because it's like we need that camaraderie because we all understand, as Calvin was saying, the psychology. Because when you start standing on your own, you get what's called resistance hard. And it's hard, and sometimes it takes different forms. And again, we're talking about the the 6-inch journey between your ears that takes 1,000 years to take sometimes, and you don't really understand that until you start delving into psychology and turning the scope on yourself. And that's when you realize it's as Pressfield put it, it's not difficult to write. It's sitting down to write that's difficult. So as you start going, well, let's take some gigs and let's put some hobbies, some passion together. Then you start realizing you have your own resistance. You have resistance in your own mind, and it's your lizard brain, the amygdala, the thing that says no, let's keep things status quo. Things are fine the way they are, and it keeps you alive, and that's fine. But your cerebral cortex, the big part of your brain, that's what wants to explore and see what else is out there. It gets inspired. That's the thing that wants to reach out further and not stop you. A lot of times people call the amygdala the lizard brain. It keeps you primal, and it's also the thing that you default back to. But that's what is also used as a needle, a magnetic needle, to point to your own personal true north. The more resistance that you feel, the more you're like, I shouldn't do that. That makes me kind of nervous. That, like, if you do the opposite of what your amygdala is telling, like, no, don't do that. Don't get out on stage and start performing, or don't do that gig thing. Don't listen to those guys. That's your lizard brain. That's the resistance. So the best way to combat resistance is to make sure and focus on the things that you want, those goals, those dreams, and those desires that you want. So Callum makes, are there any skills out there that you guys have? Let's see some comments if you're watching. If you're watching after the fact, let us know in the comments below. What skills do you have? And also maybe throw out, are you, as you think, is there some resistance that you're feeling, like, oh, maybe I feel a little embarrassed or a little shy? That might be an indicator that you should actually maybe push through that resistance, that pushback that you're getting inside your own head, because going through that, everybody has to, like, whether you like it or not, you're gonna have to get through it. And that's the only reason why I'm taking a little extra time to sort of emphasize that, because the only way through it is through it. But we got your back, right?
No skill worth learning doesn't come with uncomfortable growth.
That's true. And the thing is, you have more skills than you think you do. So a good exercise to do is take out a blank sheet of paper and write down everything you do, like on a daily basis. What do I do? If you're a parent, you have a lot of skill and a lot of experience dealing with children.
No matter what your children say.
Most people on this planet aren't really crappy parents. The best parents actually think they're crappy parents because they're not perfect. But you know what? In business, you don't have to be perfect. With your kids, maybe you do, to an extent, like that one time you fly off the handle that ruined them forever. That's a bad thing. But you can burn a bridge in business sometimes. Look at me. I've done it. I think we've all done it. You can burn bridges, and I have blown up some bridges. But you can get over that. You can overcome that. What you can't overcome is that, and I think we learn it early on, and it's very difficult to get through, and that is, you're not good enough, or you don't know enough, or the things I do know, nobody cares about. Well, this planet is 7.6 billion people. And while not all of them have disposable income, they all have dreams and desires, and they want to learn. They may want to learn something So you don't know until you try. But the other thing is, when you don't have a skill and you're afraid to go out there, like public speaking, you're not a skilled public speaker and it scares the daylights out of you. Well, if you think you're going to have to do that, one way is not to go out there and just do it in front of 1,000 people. One way is to go to a class where you can learn, you can watch, and then you can do. And it's a lot easier that way than going out there for that first time and talking in front of 1,000 people or 100 people or 10 people. I mean, I went through 2 years of college running around the whole public speaking requirement because I didn't want to do it. And I wound up wasting a bunch of time and taking a bunch of different classes to kind of like circumvent that thing. And the first thing I did when I got out of college was I was in a retail job where I had to talk to 100 people a day. Now it was one-on-one and people weren't necessarily watching me, but the customers were, the ones I was talking to were.
Yeah.
And, you know, you quickly kind of like figure it out, or you figure out that, hey, dude, this is not for me. And one of the big lessons I've learned in my life and in my business is it's important to know what you don't want to do. Because at first, part of my origin story is I started building websites in 1996, back when the web was very, very young. And, you know, it wasn't really a commercial endeavor.
Oh, yeah.
And people would ask me, you know, customers would ask me, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And it would be outside of that scope. And I would say, yes. And 9 times out of 10, that worked.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I went, you know what? I don't really like doing that. I don't really like configuring servers. I don't really like stringing Cat5 cable all night long while you're closed, and this is the only good time to do it. It was lucrative, and it made me money, and it got through. And sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But at the end of the day, when you're doing better, you can say, you know what? I don't like doing that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So, but then again, if you're a good connector, you say, hey, you need this. You've asked me for this. I don't do that, but I know somebody who does, and you can get a referral fee. It's almost better sometimes to be the middleman where you don't do the work, where you connect people and bring them together. And that's one gig you can do that doesn't take a lot of skill except good people skills.
That's an entire gig in itself. I mean, and that comes in a few different forms, right? There's people that literally go and get bird dog fees for other businesses that need clients, and they bring them in, they refer them, and then they just go right out and grab the next one. So there's no fulfillment time, right? It's like, got another one, here's your name and number. Got another one, here's the name and number. Got another one, here's the name and number. And then they come back a week later, they say, okay, where's my paycheck? And then you have others that are kind of the same thing, but you really don't think about them in that aspect. Look at headhunters, people that are going into corporations and finding skills, that they're creating databases of skills, and they're placing these people, taking them out of one company and putting them into another. They're literally getting referral fees for connecting businesses with talent.
Well, it happens all the time in real estate, right?
And what are they doing? They are fulfilling a need, and they're providing something that sometimes the end user doesn't even really understand. It's saving them time, the one thing that everybody can't get back.
So remember when we were talking about it at the beginning of the show, and we said there are going to be gaps in your business, things that you don't know how to do or haven't done before, or maybe you don't have the technology to do it. But think about this, and you're kind of turning this on its side or turning it around and looking at it from the back end. When you can fill that gap for somebody else who has that gap, you're providing a service to them. You've just filled a gap yourself. You know, if you identify a gap, people who have these gaps, like entrepreneurs don't always have a lot of time to mow their lawn, for example, right? But you don't mow lawns, but maybe you know a guy who does, or a business who does. You could refer people all day long, and as long as you establish, upfront terms, an agreement with that landscaping company or whatever service you're matching, you're going to be okay. You just once you do 1, 2, 3, 4, you can get the ball rolling. One thing we're going to talk about in a future segment, and it could be way down the line or it could be next week, is the idea of joint ventures. In a joint venture, such as what you see here. You have three people who have different skill sets, different sets of experience. We've come together to hopefully build, a cohesive team that can do a whole lot of things, do all the things that we want to do. And the main thing that we want to do is we want to help you do the things you want to do. And so I think if you came out and you said, hey, I have a question about X, Y, or Z, or hey, I have this problem, or I don't have this skill, what do I do? I think we could hook you up or teach you ourselves, or find a resource for you that will help you, bridge that gap.
And don't let resistance stop you. Like coming back around, one of the reasons why I brought up the War of Art in the first place was Callan was saying, find if there's something that you need to do, do it. But what I'm saying is, don't let the gray matter in your head, or don't let the amygdala stop you if you start feeling any kind of resistance. Bill said it's a very, very good. It's important to know what you don't want to do, but once you do, don't let yourself stop you just because you're feeling resistance. If you know what you don't want to do, but then you find what it is that you do want to do, and you start making money, and these gigs start performing. Don't let anybody, don't let yourself especially stop you from getting in your own way. And again, the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because it will come up. It absolutely will come up. So I'm trying to remove the barrier before it even gets there in your head. But one of my favorite lines in the book, or one of my favorite points, is that the author talks about resistance will bury you if you let it. And the only way to beat resistance is to be more resolute and more steadfast than resistance is. It'll come at you, but just like a bully, when you stand your ground against your own resistance, it will back down, because all it is your own amygdala. It's your own I want to keep you safe, but you're the one in charge. If you want to live intentionally, you say, no, this is it. And you take whatever assignment comes to you if you know that's the thing. He says, I will take any amateur and I will crack him like a walnut. If you turn down assignment A or writing gig B, then that means you're not really willing to stand up against your own resistance. So take the advice from both Bill and Callan. Take the skills that you need and leverage them, and understand what you don't want to do. But once you do know what you want to do, and you find your little collection of gigs that maximizes your profit and your life and gives you all those things, do not let your own resistance stop you. I am speaking from experience.
Absolutely. The absolute biggest thing that creates resistance for 90% of entrepreneurs is fear. Right?
Yeah.
You're the fear of the unknown, the fear of succeeding, the fear of failing, the fear of looking like an idiot, the fear of what other people are going to think. Some of these we claim to ourselves that these are completely, perfectly rational fears, when every fear, no matter what it is rooted in a lot of speculation. Right? You don't know what's coming in the future. You're afraid of what might come. Yeah. But by being afraid if you're afraid to fail, by being afraid to take the steps you need to succeed, you are forcing yourself to fail. And I get very passionate about the topic of not doing things because of fear, because for a very long time, I spent quite a bit of time feeling like I was grinding and trying to make forward progress, feeling productive, when I was really like Bill, spending two years of college trying to not do public speaking, just spinning in circles. But what you find is that the thing that you want is always on the other side of fear.
Yep.
Always. You don't ever get to the thing that you want without crossing that fear in learning to deal with it and quash it. Right. You can't go around the fear. You can't tunnel under it. You can't turn backwards and pretend it can't see you and walk backwards through it.
The only way through it is
you got to go through it head on, facing it, saying, I'm not afraid of you anymore. Why? Because I've learned the skills and the confidence that are required in order to get through this and to understand. And then you reach that plateau where you've broken through fear and you're like, great, now I'm invincible. You know what's happening next? There's something else that you're going to be afraid of.
Yep.
20 years ago, me hates us right now.
It's
20 years ago, it's like, no.
It's going to be every single time that you begin to make forward progress, there's going to be something else for you to be afraid of. The key is not allowing fear to win. The key is putting fear into perspective, creating a plan, understanding what it takes to get through it, getting the skills that are required or leveraging the skills that are required to be able to not have to attempt to skirt around it or do circles and hope fear leaves and try and sneak in while he's closing the door, because it doesn't happen. The only option is through 100 miles an hour, as fast as you can, as hard as you can, and knowing that fear is part of that journey and that it's totally going to be worth it as soon as you finish. Every time. And there's so much reward that comes over conquering each plateau of fear. But then when you're
back down, it will back down if you stand your ground.
And when you're on top of that mountain, once you've accomplished, fear 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, and you look back down and you see the people that are still struggling that started when you started doing similar things to you. And you go, man, how are they still down there? And then you look up the mountain and you're like, how the hell are they up there?
Yeah.
And the answer is those people didn't conquer their fear down there. And those people have already conquered more fear than you did. That's it. That's the secret. Conquer the fear. Move forward.
So in closing, we have 1 minute and we want to respect your time. So I want to say two things. Number one, face your fears when they're in front of you and you have to get through them, but don't face fears that you don't face. Meaning, if you're afraid of heights and your gig has nothing to do with heights, you don't need to confront that fear. It's a waste of your time. And you know what? You won't get over that fear. I know from experience, I used to wash windows in San Francisco on a high rise and I was afraid of heights. I'm still afraid of heights. So, and I did this for a while.
Yeah.
The last thing is I want to sincerely thank you all for watching, whether it's on the live or on the replay that's going to come out in minutes. But I would like to ask a few things of you. I'd like you to join our Facebook group if you haven't already. And I want you to subscribe to our newsletter and our YouTube channel. And we'll put those links in the comments. And if you're on our email list, we'll let you know when this video and all subsequent videos are available for replay. And one more thing I want to ask, if you can, we're trying to build the group. Share our group link. If you found value in this, share it with other people. Anybody else got anything to say in closing? We're at 9 o'clock.
I'm glad that you weren't afraid to say that, Bill, because it's important. It's a little jokey, but at the same time, that's one of my own fears that I had to overcome of, well, I don't want to tout myself too much, and I want to be the guy that's helping somebody else, and oh, don't mind me, I'm just gonna hide. Blah. And it's a natural thing, and that's something every day I have to stand up and be like, no, this is what I want to do. I want to help build video empires and stuff like that. So thank you for doing that, because it's just going to be one more building block of that helps me help other people stay strong and focused. And yeah, there we go.
All right.
I really appreciate you guys being here and watching. I hope that you get something out of being here and being a member of the group. We really, really want to help you guys get to your goals. And I hope that you have the tenacity and just the drive to continue to move forward and reach to what you need to do to get there.
Great. So one last thing I want to mention is that we're going to be delivering content through 3 main channels. That's the Facebook group, email, and YouTube. And it's going to be those 3. So if you don't belong to all 3, you're going to miss something. Just going to tell you up front, you're going to miss something. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you next Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific. And we actually have our guest lined up for next week, even though we're just in the very beginning stages. And it's going to be an excellent conversation. And I'll tell you right now, we're probably going to take those 2 middle blocks that we talked about, combine them into one. We might take a break, but it's going to be the same person, the same guest, the same topic, and we might even go over an hour because he likes to talk.
Yeah, I think our topic tonight will really feed into that episode too.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.